And E straight to the wall. Six like, oh, where did this guy come from? Contact the W. Got on Grizzly. First blood. Contract killing rabbit.
Welcome to The Breakdown. I'm Zirene. This week, we're going to be taking a look at League's newest citizen, Kayn. Kayn has been struggling in solo queue, and although a mystery to many, he was played to much success by Cloud9's jungler Contracts, who utilized Kayn's early strength, mobility, and transformation. Let's get into it. Contracts in Cloud9 demonstrated a thorough understanding of Kayn and how to get the most out of this champion. In their games against Phoenix 1, C9 invested in Contracts by leashing his early jungle clears, getting him out onto the map, and enabling the champion's high-tempo style. Kayn as a champion has some of the highest level 1 stats in the game. Out of 137 champions, at level 1, Kayn has the 5th highest armor, the highest mana regen in the game, and the rest of his stats are all at or near the top of the charts. This is offset by the fact that he has some of the worst growth stats in the game. This means relative to other champions, Kayn is strongest early and should be making use of this advantage to gain a further edge over his opponents. Stealing away enemy jungle camps, fighting the enemy jungler, and creating pressure via invading is how Kayn plays best. In short, Kayn should be a bully, much like Contracts was early on in his game versus Team Dignitas. But what sets Kayn apart from the other bullies is his mobility, which enables him to invade with relative safety. His kit might not look it, but Kayn has best-in-class early game mobility. Looking at the champions played in the jungle on patch 7.14, most champions in the jungle have a single way to get over walls without utilizing an ultimate. But only Kayn and Lee Sin have early access to 2 ways. But what makes Kayn's mobility just that much better and in that S tier is the freedom that he has with it. Both Reaping Slash and Shadow Step are free targeted, whereas Lee Sin has the prerequisite of needing to land a skill shot or have a nearby allied target. Reaping Slash also has a 7-second cooldown at level 1. As a primary damaging ability, this makes sense. But as a movement tool, this is an absurdly low cooldown. If you compare this level of mobility to other junglers, it highlights just how slippery Kayn is early on in the game. And because Kayn has the highest mana regen in the game, completing the first part of a jungle enchant gives him enough mana regen while in the jungle to freely cast Reaping Slash and never run out of mana. When he reaches this point, Kayn should be using Reaping Slash much like Nidalee uses her Pounce to navigate the jungle. Even though it's his primary damaging ability, you can see Contracts using it to get to camps faster, pushing Kayn's strengths and saving the longer cooldown Shadow Step for ganks, healing, or just in case he gets invaded. Putting it all together, Kayn as a champion is what I would call an invader. He has great early game stats, unrivaled mobility, and needs to use these or else he naturally falls behind because of his lack of scaling and utility. I asked Contracts about how to approach playing Kayn, and he said, Kayn is unique. The mindset you want to have is getting whatever advantage you can early. You need to spice up your pathing and ganking routes because you can become very unpredictable, and you have insane counter jungling abilities that can get you a really big advantage early, and you can be 100% safe while doing so, especially against the meta tanks. When it comes to his invades, Kayn's are low risk, high reward. You shouldn't be scared to dip into the dark side of the jungle. Let's go through some scenarios. Contracts goes for an invade. When he gets caught, he makes use of all of his mobility spells to get away to safety. When he doesn't find the enemy jungler, he's stealing their camps to compensate for his poor stat growths through a gold and experience advantage. In times when he does find the enemy jungler, he does one of 2 things. In his match versus Phoenix 1, he tracks Mike Young and uses that information to set up his own game. Alternatively, he's using Kayn's high base stats to trade. Even if he doesn't get the kill, just dealing damage to enemy champions rewards Kayn with orbs to work towards the Darkened Scythe transformation. Although Kayn has 2 transformations, there's a clear winner here in terms of which of these is favored at the moment. Transforming into Rost gives him an immense amount of spell vamp and allows Kayn to bridge into the mid-game by adding a 1-second AoE knockup to Blade's reach. Not only does he get some much needed utility, but this means he now has even more survivability. If he already has an advantage, transforming into Rost makes it even harder for the enemy to take you down and get back into the game, which Contracts demonstrated when invading a 3-kill, 0-death Mike Young and healing 855 HP over the course of 4 seconds. I asked Contracts about the gap between solo queue and professional play and what mistakes he sees players making the most on Kayn, and he said he saw them trying to make too many big mid-game plays around level 6 to 9. Kayn is at his weakest at that point in the game, and instead of looking for big fights, should instead be looking for small skirmishes and ganks around that time so he can get his transformation. Because once you get your Darken form, you're substantially stronger and your team fighting immensely improves. Kayn is a different type of champion, one whose playstyle rewards junglers who are willing to take risks early and get in the face of the enemy. But if you don't take these risks, then you're not playing to Kayn's strengths and allowing his weaknesses to surface. So Contracts has a message for all the solo queue Kayn mains still struggling to get wins. Get good and start invading. Hey everyone, Zirene here. If you see a play that you think deserves a breakdown, tweet at me at LOLZirene and use the hashtag #TheBreakdown.